Testing. Testing.
Okay, everybody ready? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia City Council chambers. This is a regularly scheduled committee of the whole meeting. Immediately following this meeting will be our budget meeting. So if you want to stick around for that as well. We have a medium-sized agenda today. Hopefully we'll get through this quickly as we can. I'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, and the time is 9 a.m. So we have a number of appearances today and then a couple items from Building and Grounds, Personnel, and Finance, and then some closed meeting with respect to contract negotiations with one of our labor unions. So, Brett, we'll turn this over to you for the agenda.
Thank you. The first appearance is Eric Martin from Hawkins Chemical regarding an update and request to run a trial for the FX300 chemical at the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, he's... Coming up, if you would, please, from People's Service. Thank you. Carol, all as well. If you would just push the button to green, and please state your name for the record and the company represented. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Thanks for having us. My name is Eric with Eric Martin with Hawkins Incorporated Water Treatment Group. Sit here a little taller. No, there you go.
I'm Mark Franta from Hawkins as well. I'm the branch manager out of our Superior location.
Carol Ross, People Service, wastewater plant.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming.
While he's passing those out, what we're asking is for the city's permission to run a trial at the wastewater plant with a different product than the RE300. It'd be for a Hawkins product, AquaHawk. What is that one? 15117. This product shows to have very similar results at a significant cost reduction.
Okay.
So at your wastewater, you're currently using a product for phosphorus removal and coagulation, settling. So that product is actually a really good product, but it's a very expensive product. And we have a new product line that we're manufacturing now. So we brought that to People Service, and they allowed us to come in and do some bench scale testing. And from that bench scale testing, we found that the new product wasn't as efficient as the existing product, but it was far less expensive. So even if you had to use a little bit more, there was still quite a significant price, advantage looking at it for a year term or even a monthly term. So the next step beyond a bench scale study is to do a full scale study at the plant with People Service to try the product for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. A month would be preferred if possible. We don't have a lot of hard costs on what that is. People Service and then the engineer that you guys typically work with or People's work with would have to help us get the trial put together. But all in all, the cost of an actual trial would probably be equal to, if not less, than what the current chemical treatment process you're already using. So that's why we're here. I handed out some information of what the product is, what it does, a quick little price saving summary of the pricing. Now the pricing, we also have similar product to what they're currently using, so we don't have a definite price of what you guys are paying for the RE300 compared to our RE2. But it should be similar in price. So we're looking at, with a chemistry change, you could save up to $70,000 annually in your chemical costs at the wastewater. So we're just here to say we have this available and looking for approval to move forward with People's Service to run a product trial to see if this is a viable product that will in fact work for you or not.
Okay, thank you. I have a quick question, then we'll start to go around the room. So is this new product that's on a trial basis for a month, you said?
Yeah.
And so is this going to be in lieu of the current product that we're using or in addition to?
In lieu
Instead,
of,
yeah.
yeah.
Pardon?
Separate. Oh, I'm sorry. In lieu of, it's separate.
Separate?
Yeah, you turn off the current product.
Okay, so current product we wouldn't be using during this trial period.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then are you going to do this for 1 month?
Correct.
And if it is to be an acceptable product that meets the needs of, it could replace the product that we have, for us to know, we need to know how much we're paying now. But if you're here to testify and guarantee that it's going to be equal to or less than during this 1 month period, I don't have a problem moving forward, but I would like to have the numbers or approximate those numbers as we move ahead. So thanks for coming in. Anytime we can save money but without compromising the integrity of the service we provide, I think it's important for us to move forward. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. Councilor Motley.
I guess I just echo the mayor's saying anything that can possibly save us money, we're interested in. How do you feel, Carol? Is this, with the trial run?
I think that it would be a positive if we could get the same results for
Okay.
less money.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson.
Is this the same, is this chemical to replace the chemical that our delivery cost is like several $1,000s?
Yes.
So would that delivery cost go down as well? Because I know,
The price you see the delivery cost would be incorporated in.
which sheet am I, the one, this one?
Yep, that one right there.
Okay. Because I know that that's been one of the hardest things to swallow is the delivery cost of the current chemical is a significant portion of the bill. And I know you've done what you can to get that down. So I'd be supportive of that. And then my other question is, does the MPCA or is there any state intervention that needs to happen to do this trial?
Yes, the MPCA would have to be informed of the trial. The whole deal is we have to keep you in compliance. So we can't shut off the one product, turn the other one on, and then throw everything off. You'll still have to meet your regulations, but that's why we'll probably have to involve SEH, the engineers that Peoples work with to file the paperwork with the MPCA.
And then, is it different hardware, or are we going to get a bill for different hardware to distribute this stuff? It can be put into the system as it exists?
We're going to provide all that at no charge for the trial.
Okay, then for the trial afterwards.
After that, the toughest part with this product freezes at about 12 degrees versus your current product has a freeze point of, I think, -10. So there's a little issue because then it's stored outside right now. So we have to look on site and make sure the insulated tank that's there is suitable for this product. Otherwise, we got to find somewhere inside to.
I guess that would be my next thing, is that those costs also need to come back to us. My concern is, we're going to save $60,000 a year, but it's going to cost us $120,000 to get the new equipment. So during I have no problem with us trying it. I think that's a great idea, but I'd also like to make sure that when you come back again after, all of the costs are there of what it's going to cost for heating or the equipment you're providing for free, what that looks like, and then also, we're obviously going to have to get rid of the current equipment. Can we sell that? How does that work? So those are all things I'm going to be looking for when you come back after the trial is the long-term cost efficiency of this really what it is, or are we going from, and of course, if there's an upfront cost that's still going to save us money that we recoup because of the savings, I'd be fine with that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. So I echo what Councilor Johnson says. I think we all do. At the end of this trial period, we'll figure out what the hard cost is, if in fact this chemical is suitable for us to continue to move forward with. But I have two questions. Well, one question and a comment. So, we currently pay for the current product that we have $43,200 4 times a year. That's what we pay for our current product. So looking at the comparisons in your packet there that we all have, there's some kind of a cost savings. So, but $43,200, that's included in that is the delivery fee as well. And then so once, first, during this trial period, And then subsequently, if in fact this is an acceptable chemical and we vote to replace it based upon the costs that come back after the trial, will the MPCA need to approve this or be notified of this change of the chemical that's being used? Okay, and so are they aware of this chemical product and then is being used elsewhere? Is that correct? In other
We
wastewater?
actually just approved a trial of this in Aurora that we're starting this month.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Those are my questions and comments moving forward. So your request here today is you provide us a chemical update, and now you're requesting to run a trial for the FX300 chemical at the wastewater treatment plant for a 30-day period. And this chemical that's being used will replace, at least during this trial period, the current chemical we are using now. So we'll suspend the use of that chemical for 30 days until this trial period is over, at which time an assessment will be presented to our council and of the outcome and how, if it is in fact productive and useful and recommended moving forward. And then at that particular time, we would like you to come back and with not only with those results, but with the potential costs associated with the transfer from that one chemical to the other, as alluded to by Councilor Johnson. So does any councilor have any questions or comments before we move forward with a motion to act in one way or another? Anything else you want to add before we move on this?
I would like to say I am your guys' current rep for the city of Virginia, so I do more than just the wastewater plant. And that is one of our things, is I am their customer as well. So this product is made in Minnesota, so it would just be coming from Minneapolis. So it's always available, and they would have a direct link with me, because I know with the current product, sometimes communication's an issue because your current rep is not in the state of Minnesota.
Okay, thank you.
So if that adds anything.
We like everything locally made, but if we can't, Minnesota made is the next good thing. So Councilor Johnson.
Mayor, one last question about you said 2 weeks to a month. Is a month enough time? Or is there regulations by the MPCA about how long we can trial this? I want to make sure that we're giving you the time you need to get it done instead of rushing it.
A month is typical. A month is enough for the PCA.
And when would this
for
start?
us- Excuse me?
When would you start the trial?
As soon as we got the okay from Peoples and the PCA.
Okay, I'll make a motion to allow the 30-day trial of the new product at the wastewater treatment.
Move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support?
Support.
By Councilor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Pam.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a contract or anything we need to implement?
Not on our end, no.
Okay. And so this wouldn't actually take effect till next Tuesday at the council meeting for final approval?
Thank you, Pam. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. We
Yes,
appreciate
thanks for
it.
coming.
Thank you. The next appearance on the agenda is Matt Reed from SEH, our engineer of record, regarding an update to the resolution we had passed for the local road improvement program grant application.
Matt Reed, our engineer of record from SCH. Once again, Matt, good morning.
Morning. In front of you is, you approved last Tuesday night at the council meeting, you approved a resolution for us to apply for some local road improvement program grant funding from, through the state of Minnesota Department of Transportation. And when the resolution came to me, I noticed that I would recommend that we make some changes to it. And so I apologize. I'll take the blame for having it wrong the first time. But the major change that I think we need to do on that is we were asking for 1.25 million, which was the max the last time we asked for a local road improvement program grant. This time the max we can ask for is 1.5, so it seemed like that would be a good thing to do. Might as well maximize our ask and see what we can come up with. So that was the main change. The other changes weren't as significant, and we probably wouldn't have even messed with it. But in order to try to get that extra grant money, I felt it was worth revising it. So that's what's before you today. There's some other minor changes in there. One was just the description of the roads, and then one was the total project cost. But I can answer any questions, otherwise, the urgency of getting it approved today is that application is due on Friday. So, and I've got the application all done and ready to go, it's just a matter of getting the resolution put in, so.
I will move to amend the resolution as approved last Tuesday.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the updated resolution for the local, the LRIP grant application. Is there support? Support by Councilor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
And I'd like to add, so it can be submitted Friday, because I know that usually it's official on Tuesday, but I'd like to make sure it gets submitted.
Yeah, thank you. I know you'll hand deliver that, is my understanding.
It's electronic, so I'll hit submit.
Thank you, Pat. It's been moved and supported. Further discussion, Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Matt, so the increase on the total project cost or the estimated total project cost, is that due to it needs to be a one-to-one match? So you need to at least have a $3 million minimum?
I think the estimate, we applied for this previously, and I think the estimate that was in that prior resolution was the estimate we used. That was a few years ago.
Oh.
And so this is just updating with all the updated construction costs.
Okay, is the match though, is the grant application a one-to-one match?
There is no match on this one.
There is no.
No, the city will still have a match because the project obviously is more than 1.5 million, so it'll be approximately one-to-one,
Right.
but it's not, there's not a required match.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Appearance number 3 was Daniel Treisman to discuss the ordinance, Chapter 6, Section 6.4, Subdivision B, entitled Secondhand Goods.
He is not in the audience.
Move to item number 4, which is update on the housing study.
Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you want me to stay here, or would it be easier? I don't know.
At your,
I might go up to the podium. It just seems easier to talk to everybody that way.
whatever makes it easier for you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you. I just feel like it's easier to talk to you all this way instead of from the corner.
For the audience edification, Jenny was sitting over there before us. Jenny Boubinet, our planning director. Jenny?
Yep,
Welcome.
thank you. So I don't have an actual housing study update per se, but I do have some information to share with you that I've been wanting to share for a while, so I appreciate the opportunity. Over the last several months, I've been able to participate with groups of individuals involved in housing, as most of you are aware of. I've attended meetings, workshops, housing institutes, and have been gaining a vast amount of knowledge on housing issues in our city, as well as the surrounding communities, the region, and the statewide level. As part of a housing institute and representatives from the Quad Cities, so it would be Virginia, Mountain Iron, Eveleth, and Gilbert, I've been attending conferences in Grand Rapids with several other communities, and I guess maybe coalitions, some of them. And the conferences are to better learn from housing experts, developers, and other government agencies. Some of the goals of our team, which is a team, again, of the Quad Cities, that we have included but are not limited to are goals for education. And what that means is educating the public, homeowners, landlords, renters, yourselves as elected officials, government staff, housing agencies, about the need for housing. I think we're all aware through the housing study that there's a need for all types of housing. And how do we pinpoint what's the highest priority, I guess, is where we're trying to educate ourselves and educate all the communities. So that's a big goal of ours, is to start working on that education piece. Examples, of education can include letters and articles submitted to local media, creation of websites to store resource information, presentations to councils, And we are considering creating like a developer packet for each community. So that would include things that if a developer were to come to the community, we could give them this packet, letting them know what the property is zoned, what uses are allowed on that property, just a number of different things that would go in line with what a developer would need in order to move a project forward. So that's a big goal as well. Another goal, it relates to housing rehabilitation, and that would be for single family and rentals. We're researching what types of programs are available and what may need to be created to assist in rehabilitation. We're exploring funding opportunities that may currently be available for this type of work and researching how the funding could be obtained and leveraged to create opportunities that may not exist now. So for example, we have a single family housing rehab program through AEOA. What we don't have is the rental side of that. So we're looking to see what we can do to help with landlords or even maybe tenants at some point to help rehabilitate some of the housing stock within each community. One of our third goals is housing creation and new construction, as well as looking at redevelopment options. We're working on creating a replicable model that can be used in all communities to assist in development of any variety of housing options necessary or that is brought forward by a developer. As part of this goal, an inventory of available lands in each of the Quad Cities is being created with assistance from St. Louis County. That was a big goal of yours, a task that you asked me to help with the City of Virginia specifically. We felt that it was appropriate to ask the county to help all of the communities with that. And once that's available, I will certainly have that for you. They're looking at creating, for example, something along the lines of like the County Land Explorer, where you would have the mapping capabilities to see where all these vacant properties are, who owns them, what type of public property it is, among a variety of other things that are available through that kind of a web map application. We do have resources related to the Housing Institute conferences that can be found on a shared Google Drive. I've been struggling a little bit on how to provide you that access because it's a lot of information. This is my binder that I take to all of my, and this is just some of the information. So how we can provide that to you, we're still kind of working on the finer details of that. I do have some handouts from some of the other conferences and things as examples for you today. So kind of segueing into that, additionally this fall, the IRRR hosted a housing resource forum to discuss new housing programs and resource availability. So I do have a lot of handouts, a presentation that they provided for that. I will also say that there is a housing kind of, I think they call them meetups or something. I can't remember exactly the term. For just anybody interested in housing, and you jump on a call, you talk about housing, you talk about the needs in the area, the state. Meeting with other representatives just to understand. I mean, it's a very complex issue, so it's not something that we can answer even in the last several months that I've been here. So I know there's a push to have those answers, but it seems a little bigger, I think, than we initially maybe realized. All over, not just in the city of Virginia. Another area internally that some of you are aware of is that we've been working to update Chapter 11, the Land Use Ordinance, with our Planning and Zoning Commission. We have included discussions regarding alternative types of housing and how we update the ordinance to reflect those types of needs and consideration for potential uses in the future. There's two other resources that I was just made aware of last week, I think, through Apex and the Minnesota Housing Opportunity Fund that I also have handouts and information for you to review. But other than that, I just wanted to update you on what I've been doing, what I've been involved with, and answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you, Jenny. Very comprehensive, and I know you've been working hard. I've been to a couple of those institutes myself, listening just as a listening session for the education piece as you make your presentations. The one question I do have for you is that during this packet of information that you're going to put together for the developers, include in that packet, and I think it would be good information for all of us, that if we knew what property in the city of Virginia within the curtilage of the city limits, what's available, both potential privately and commercially. And I did have a discussion with a private owner, property owner this morning, and it's been an ongoing saga, and I'm sure that he's going to be contacted if he has already done so, with some of the property that he has available up in Midway. We have property up there too. So to have a list of what property is available for potential housing, both private that you're able to glean, and what we own in the city, and what that property is available as, so we can really have some understanding of what property could possibly be developed in whatever type of housing is being recommended or the city council will eventually approve. So thank you for that, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And we should have the at least public information. I hope this month, honestly. I met with St. Louis County on Friday, and it sounded like they were pretty close to getting that wrapped up already. And that ask was just within the last month or so for that specific information for each community. The private part, I'll do the best that I can. I know that's a little tricky, but
Yes.
we'll work on it.
Yeah, and I think part of that private part is if you, you were talking about the communication piece, making people understand what's properties that are available. They could jump on a call, talk about housing. And these people, those who have private property in the city limits of Virginia that are looking to potentially develop, maybe we could, they could have that opportunity to notify the city that, hey, I have this property available for commercial development. You want to buy it, or is it a developer available to do that? So I could talk to you after the meeting and let you know. I don't know if it's public information that these owners want to disseminate, but I'll give them to you. And I think we're all aware who those people are, particularly up in the Midway area, up for 135 and Highway 53. So thank you, Jenny, for that, putting it together. Any other councilor have any questions, comments? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jenny, for the update. So when the county is doing this update for us, or you're working with them, is that going to be in the form of a map form like we had requested?
Not specifically for this request, but with that information, we can get those maps.
So we can take that to W.A. Fisher, to Lori, and have her.
If we can't do it internally, yes, then I think, and we have ideas on how we may be able to do it internally, so.
Oh, okay. So I just want to let you know, that's kind of my expectation, kind of following what the mayor is saying. And is there some way to pull any from MLS to add those as, like when I was discussing the actual map and the layering, that we could then layer, and you could print out the MLS and do that layer. And I don't know how that would probably be Land Explorer on top of MLS, and it would have to be mapped out. But that would give you an understanding if it is publicly listed on MLS, that then we would have that as a part of our city's portfolio. So if a developer has some interest, along with the developer packet that will be created, that it would be a constantly moving document, for developers coming into our area, or just for our own usage, as discussed, as you're discussing land usage, et cetera. And then I want to bring one, this may not be the right place to bring it up, but since we're talking about the county, I had a conversation with a constituent yesterday, and there is a piece of property over by Super One North that I do not know if it's it's gone now back to the county, if it's tax forfeited. It's a commercial piece of property, but I want to know how the city can work more effectively with the county for any of those tax forfeit properties, for making sure their properties, like the old Orbs building, the roof fell down, there's now mold in there, Norman's nightclub and Frank's, those windows were blasted out and all the pigeons that were breeding in there. Is there some way that we can communicate with the county from any tax forfeit properties that the county is responsible for? And I would also include banks, you know, if banks are the receiving end of a property owner not paying and the bank gets it back, that the city would be able to communicate with whomever is, I guess, the landholder at that point, or the, I don't know, title, I don't know what the technical word is, but just to assure the city that those properties are actually going to be secured and safe. There's been some concern at the building that's now being vacated by Super One South or North, and I can discuss what building that is with you, of either potential people squatting in there or potential for a fire to break out. So if that's something that we could be mindful as we're going through this process, I think that would be a good step. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. And I did address that same issue with our city administrator this morning, and she's going to be touching base with Jenny to address that particular issue. And so thank you for that. Councilor Motley.
So when we updated our housing study earlier this year, it said the number one type of housing that we needed to focus on was the single family, $250,000 to $400,000 homes. As city leaders, it literally stated that. Do you know if there's any funding available for that type of housing?
There's multi-levels of funding available specific to single family. There's likely some. How a developer goes about getting that, accessing those funds, I think there needs to be a little bit more discussion specific to single family for sure. But I can look into that.
Okay. And then this is just a random thought as we're talking, not involved with, I guess, the housing, but does the city of Virginia have a lot of vacant lots? Just empty lots that we own?
Not
buildable.
Not built. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Somebody just brought this to me and was like, would it be something where we could ever have maybe a neighbor purchase at a reduced cost just to get it off of us and then they can start paying taxes on it? It was just something brought up to me. I'm just bringing it up now, but.
And historic, we have done that in the past.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. That was it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Motley. Okay, Jenny, we look forward to an update on the information and the things that Councilor Paulson and Councilor Motley brought up. I know that the financing for single-family homes is a challenge to get money for that through the Minnesota Housing Finance. The way that's structured for different kinds of housing, that's the big challenge for. And so I'm sure you'll figure out where we're going to be going in your recommendations moving forward. So thank you for the comprehensive efforts that you make here. I think having you on board has made a big difference in our ability to move forward. So we're taking steps in the right direction, and thanks for bringing this forward.
Thank you. May I hand these out then?
Please do.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 5 is approve the renewal with Rockstep Capital for the Virginia Police Department Community Outreach Center office at Uptown, Virginia.
So moved.
A move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support?
Support.
By Councilor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Thank you, Rockstep, for providing that space for us. It's been very productive. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a memorandum of understanding for the Earn Sick and Safe Time, which is a new statute that goes into place as of January 1, 2024. The first one is MAPE.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. Britt, is there anything in any of these three agreements that aren't mandated by the new state law? Like, is there any wiggle room that
The
we
only
can?
changes are what state law requires us to change.
I will move the MAPE MOU then.
Counselor Johnson moves to approve the MAPE MOU with respect to the earned, sick, and sick time established by state law. Is there support for that?
Support.
By Counselor Motley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The second one was LELS.
So moved to
Moved
approve.
approved by Counselor Johnson, the LELS, supported by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The final one is IAFF.
So moved. Moved to approve by Counselor Johnson and supported by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a point of note, AFSME just approved their agreement, so I'll have it for the next meeting, the next committee of the whole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7 is approve the Public Works Department purchase of the truck box for the 2024 GMC Sierra 1-ton for the Public Works Department, and this is coming out of the 2023 capital equipment bond.
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Motley. Is there support? By Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8 is discuss the proposed rate increases for permitting fees from the Community Development Planning and Permitting Department.
Thank you. And this is recommended by our staff and by the Community Development Planning Program. So here for a discussion, which is a carryover from our 11/21/23 Committee of the Whole meeting. Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. At this point, I'm not comfortable approving these. Especially after reviewing the letter that we received with the League of Minnesota Cities Handbook regarding fees and fee structures. I would like to maybe have a little bit more of a conversation about this. The way that I look at the draft is that if you're coming in here as a commercial, if you're building anything commercially or rehabbing anything commercially, it's based upon your total project cost. And I feel that de-incentivizes people to actually invest more in their total project. And I would like to maybe explore talking about based upon square footage. And then I'd also like to understand, just in my own experience now going forward, I believe like if you have a plumber, the plumber gets their own permit. If you have an electrician, the electrician gets their own permit. And again, like if you have a roofing, I think they each get their own permit. I don't know if that's how it works, Britt, all the time.
The plumbing code is separate, so the
Plumbing is
building code,
different.
and so is electrical code. So yes, those two are always separate. Then anything under the building code would be one
Fall
permit.
under that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So I guess if you already have the fee for electric and the fee for plumbing, I think it would be reasonable to have a discussion based upon square footage of your improvement instead of your total project cost. So I think the example that I gave last time is instead of putting, $2 a square foot tile in, you might be thwarting somebody from putting $10 square foot tile in based on that total project cost. So I guess I'm open for conversation, but at this point, I would rather us sit down and really have a lengthy discussion about what we're doing commercially and how that possibly de-incentivizes people from coming to Virginia, as well as disincentivizing, whatever the word is, from them to actually doing an upgraded project. So that's kind of my feeling on that. I'd like to table this or hold it in abeyance until we could maybe have a deeper dive conversation on it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. I have a question, maybe for Jenny. So these permitting fees, if I recollect what I read, that includes both residential and commercial. Is that correct?
Correct, Mayor.
So it's not just commercial. It's a residential. Okay, thank you. That's all the clarification I needed. So for me, this, of course, this is on the communal agenda for discussion. Not necessarily to take a vote to move forward with a recommendation as proposed, but this is a time for us to discuss. So thank you, Councilor Paulson, for holding your motion in abeyance until we are able to discuss the rest of this moving forward. We'll go first to Councillor Johnson and then over to Councillor Motley. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on what Councillor Paulson said, I guess my question is why do we do it on the total cost as opposed to total square footage? Is there precedents or other models?
Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. So I will try my best to answer that question. It's not my forte per se, but my understanding is that because of statute and how statute is set up relating to building code, that one, if a city adopts a building code, such as the city of Virginia, then they have to follow certain statutes within that. And the way that the fee schedule is set up is based on statute 326B.153, building permit fees. And that does seem to be, as far as I can tell, in my research, talking with the department, how all cities are set up for that type of fee schedule based on the cities that actually administer building code. Other cities and jurisdictions administer only zoning, and so their fee schedules can be different and maybe set up by square footage. I'm familiar with that just from experience with the county. We did not enforce building code. We only enforced zoning, and we had land use permits, not building permits. So there's one distinction there. And then as far as, how we apply the building code, that's also per statute. And that's 326B.121 on how the city actually enforces that. So does that help answer that question?
It does, and because I know, as we've seen, when we've built over the last several years, everything's based on a percentage of the total cost or a percentage of something. And so I appreciate that clarification because I can see being a cost prohibitive for commercial. And when we're talking about commercial, we're not talking about commercial people coming into our homes. We're talking about a resident having a contractor come in as opposed to a business having a contractor come in, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I need to clarify that. So I do think it deserves a little bit more discussion. I do think we're well past the time of making sure we are covering our costs. And I read that as well about covering costs. And I don't think the intention of these fees or the rental fees is to make money for the city. It's to break even so that we can use levy dollars to pay for the things the citizens find important, public safety, and I'll just leave it blanket, public safety. So I think a conversation with some folks about what this looks like and what those percentage fees are, and maybe there's some adjustment or some wiggle room in there that if your project gets to a certain percentage, there's a cap or so. I don't know if those are options, but maybe that's the kind of thing to look at is a cap of a cost for a project, because of course we want people to be rebuilding and making our town even better than it is. So thank you.
Thank you. And just an example, just recently, new construction and a remodel as an example. Just to pick two properties in town that applied for permits. The permit fees at one was $8,200, and the permit fees for the other was over $10,000. So how does it making an adjustment based on square footage as opposed to what we currently do? How does that affect the fee schedule and what we collect based upon our needs and to cover our costs associated with that? So I think it does bode well for more further discussion before we move forward. And the purpose of this meeting today is for discussion purposes to provide some guidance for our staff. Councillor Motley.
Councillor Johnson's question took care of mine, and I agree with all of you guys that I think a little bit more discussion. The square footage has me curious versus total project cost. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And what I would ask Britt and Jenny, if you could take a look at, what those, if there are alternatives based upon the what Councillor Paulson brought forth, what latitude do we have moving forward, and how that, if we were to have the authority to do that within the statute, what would we have to do? Would we have to not adopt the building codes and the statute and go to just zoning only? How would we do that? So I guess I would ask you to do those research with respect to that and find out what could be any alternatives, unless you already have some for us.
Thank you,
you,
Mayor.
Jenny.
So I can, briefly, as I understand it, per statute, there isn't a way that we can repeal city code, building code enforcement. Because we have adopted it, we cannot go back. Had we not adopted it back in 1988, then maybe we could go back to zoning. But at this point in time, there isn't a way to go back from that.
Okay, well, that checks that off the box. But the other issues, if you could research that for us and bring back to all of us, that'd be appreciated very much. Any other questions, comments for Jenny, for our staff with respect to the item number, the permitting fee issue? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is review the letter from M&M Ely LLC regarding the rental licensing fees.
This is the email that was sent.
Mayor, if I might.
Yes, please, Councilor Freely.
I did ask if we could just add this. I thought this was a very articulate letter that was sent by Matt, and it was referencing concerns that were actually brought up at the initial conversations that we had several years ago when John Sullivan was holding public hearings at the event center. And I think those concerns still hold true today, and particularly in the atmosphere that we are all experiencing at this point in time, as indicated by the full house of people that came to talk to us about what I would consider excessive increases in property taxes from the county assessment that was done recently. All these additional costs that are going to be incurred by landlords who own multiple properties in town are going to be cost imposing at the very least. I do understand the necessity for seeking to provide safe and adequate and comfortable housing for people throughout the city. I'm of the mind that there's a lot of landlords that are in fact very intent on doing that and have been doing so for decades. And so I guess I'm of the mind too, not unlike has already been discussed by Councilor Johnson, reiterated by Councilor Motley and Councilor Paulson, that there needs to be further conversation with regard to the costs that people are going to be incurring for the imposition of these fees that we're considering related to our rental ordinance.
Yeah, thank you. The rental code ordinance obviously goes into effect January 1. Not only the ordinance, but the fee schedule as well. It was approved by unanimous part of the council to move forward with these fee schedules. And so it's scheduled to take effect January 1. So I don't like it either. But I voted to move it forward because we need to establish that ordinance has to be established and we have to have some kind of a fee schedule. Now, if that fee schedule is excessive, as we roll this program out, and if we determine that these fees are cost prohibitive and it has an adverse effect on our renters, as indicated by some of the landlords, that particularly Mr. Perringer, who was very articulate in how he approached things, very professional, that how the fees that we're collecting are we collecting the fees in order to cover our costs associated with the program, or as we move forward, are those fees, are we collecting more fees than necessary in order to keep that program moving forward? We won't know that until we implement the program. But I see and I understand and I have compassion for those landlords who are responsible. And like I said at the previous meetings, I like a compliance-based ordinance. That's not what this is, but that's what we're going to do moving forward. So those are my comments for now. Councilor Paulson.
Mayor, so could someone just walk us through the process of, we're the landlords, we, as of January 1, the new ordinance takes effect. Could just someone walk through the process of the expectation of what the landlord needs to do, how the city responds, how the fee is collected, and is it based on when the inspection happens? Can we, could we maybe just do a little refresher? And if you want to do research on it and get back to us, that would be totally fine.
Pulling up the website, because we did list on our website all that information on how to.
You did?
Yep, so let me find it and I can read it to you if that's okay.
Sure, thank you.
And Jenny, jump in please at any time if you feel you need to. Do you want to go ahead?
The only thing I was going to say is we just recently created internally kind of just what you're asking. I don't have it in front of me, but I can certainly get it and provide it on kind of what the steps are and how it works out.
And was that document, that fact sheet, then was that what was sent out or will be sent out to potential landlords?
What we've just developed internally is for ourselves.
internal processes.
To
Okay.
understand, what steps in the process.
That would be
but I can
helpful
provide
for
that to
me.
council.
That would be great, yeah.
We are working on a trifold brochure to give out to both tenants and landlords when you move into a place, and if you have problems, you know who to call, or if you need assistance with your rent, or whatever you may need. So we are working on something like that. So the registration, the way the ordinance reads, in this first year, they have a whole year to register. So they have all of 24 to register, and that $400 registration fee is due up front. You can wait until November 30th if you'd like, and that's fine, but you have the whole year to register. And then upon inspection, once you register, we'll create an inspection list based on hopefully first come, first served, but it might make sense to do if I'm in Northside today, I'm going to do all the Northside ones. So we'll get to that when these inspections start. And then after inspection, you'll get a copy of your license and your fee that you have to pay. So it would be at that time, then that's got 30 days to pay that. So these are really up to the owners. And like we explained to this particular owner, he has a lot of property. Don't do them all at once. Bring us a couple every quarter or whatever you'd like. Do the ones that you need work on later, and do the ones you know already right now immediately. We have had people coming and registering already. They just want to get done. They know they're good landlords. They know their building's fine. They're ready to go. So people have been paying. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we've been explaining this to everybody. We've been sending a sample. They're on our website at virginiamn.us/rental code. We do have a sample of the inspection sheets. We have the application on there. We have some frequently asked questions that we're getting, some related resources about carbon monoxide alarms. That's one thing that trips a lot of people up. You have to have those in every bedroom. They aren't very expensive, but they are very, very needed. The cold weather rule information, fair housing rights. I mean, we have a lot of information on our website too to try to help. And like I mentioned, we'll try to get that trifold done soon here.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. And I want to thank Jenny for sending this email out in clarification to Mr. Perringer about, the process moving forward and how that works. And so we're looking forward to having that packet of information available. I know it's on the website, but I think it's prudent for us to revisit those fee schedules moving forward to determine if, they're within line of what we need to accomplish our goals to maintain a safe and secure environment for those who are renting property. So thank you. Anything else? Okay, next item, please.
This next item is contract negotiations with AFSCME. It is a closed session.
Okay. Is there anything else under other items of concern before you go into a closed session? Okay, looking for a motion to move to closed session. Moved by Councilor Paulson and supported by Councilor Johnson. But before we go into closed session, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll vote to go into closed session. How's that? Thank you very much. Let's take 5 minutes. Thank you. Huh? What's that?